Nehemiah. The fall semester of his last year was colder than usual, both on the inside and the outside. He felt it safer that way. The breakup was painful. No, it was traumatic. He spent so much of his savings on this one trip, only for Mary to dump him a month and a half later. Love. Bull. Elijah never noticed the pattern. He couldn't see how both Martina and Mary were unhappy for largely the same reasons. He couldn't recognize his self-centered egotism and how it affected his relationships. He couldn't see how much he needed to learn. Whether he couldn't or wouldn't didn't really matter. He just didn't learn. Instead, he vowed to build a wall so thick around his heart that no one would ever have access to it. And so he built and built a wall, a thick wall. Elijah became a very self-confident person. Funny enough, this self-confidence was born out of his lack of confidence. Such a mystery. Strange how humans compensate for the very thing that they are lacking by appearing to have an overabundance of it. Arrogance is what many called it behind his back. He decided to drown himself in his studies and his weekend parties. He made a number of friends. Each was very unique. Weird actually. They didn't fit as a cohesive group. But Elijah learned how to get along with each one alone. Each offered something different to Elijah. First, there was Gregory. He was the poet, philosopher, academic, savant author, and editor. Elijah and Gregory could sit and discuss Heidegger's existential philosophy and its contribution to modernity and postmodernity. They were able to talk about ontology and humanism and at the same time love to sift through the latest conspiracy theories. Deep down, both Gregory and Elijah didn't really believe the majority of them to be theories. Gregory was probably the most intelligent person Elijah had ever met, and yet Gregory in his own way was extremely humble. He loved to self-deprecate in one breath and pontificate in the next. Elijah, and he would just howl at how unenlightened the world around them was. He helped build Elijah's wall. Second, there was Robert. He was an athlete and a hardcore party animal. He loved to hit the gym with Elijah and loved to challenge him to push himself. He was single-handedly responsible for Elijah's pride and joy, his six-pack. Robert also loved to challenge and push Elijah at the bar. Shots, 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 shots. Elijah loved how much fun he had with Robert. Their conversations were an inch deep, but sometimes that was exactly what Elijah needed. He, too, helped build Elijah's wall. Third, there was Nehemiah. He was the social connoisseur, the social butterfly who knew all things high-end. He loved to organize the most outrageously posh and shoe-shy escapades. He loved luxury. He had incredibly sophisticated taste, which translated into incredibly expensive taste. Nehemiah was a wall builder himself. He would hide behind expensive clothing, fashion, accessories, shoes, cars. His apartment felt like you were visiting an art gallery. He offered Elijah the thrills of the high life. $250 dinner at Ruth's Chris was not an anomaly. Nehemiah was the best at helping Elijah build his wall. His 3 friends made his semester fly by. His applications to law school were all sent out by the end of November. He did not apply to New York. December came, and he planned to go home for Christmas. What was he thinking? Plus. George and Sally were so excited that their only son was coming home for Christmas. They hadn't seen him since Easter of this year, since he didn't come home for the summer. Mama made Elijah all his favorite foods. Grape leaves stuffed with rice and meat. Goulash, filo pastry stuffed with meat. Macarona bel bechamel, essentially pasta with bechamel sauce and filled with meat. Now this was all very surprising for Elijah. Not that his mom made him his favorite foods, but that she made him all his favorite feast foods while they were still in the fast. The Advent fast begins on November 25th and lasts till January 7th. The fast usually consists in becoming a vegan throughout the 40 days and also traditionally includes a time of abstinence from all food in the morning. Recap. So the 2 elements are a delayed breakfast and the food one eats is vegan. Also, depending on which fast one finds themselves in, one may be allowed fish or not. Actually, the rule is something like this: no fish on Wednesdays and Fridays in all of Lent. Actually, it's not just fish. It's all seafood. But then again, one is also not allowed fish on the eve of the feast, also called Parman. Also, important to note is that the time of one's delayed fasting depends on what one's spiritual father or confessor advises them to do. Some people eat at 9 a.m., while others would abstain from food and drink till 6 p.m. Okay, back to Elijah and his shock. This was the Advent fast. He was allowed fish. Actually, seafood. Anyways, the shock came from the fact that when he was growing up, his parents were Nazis about the fast. He remembers not being allowed to eat things with whey powder in them. As a teenager, he found the whole thing to be quite Pharisaic, that is legalistic. Modified milk ingredients, nope. No good. On the other hand, cops had become so creative in their vegan foods that they made the most amazing meals out of tofu. Tofu cheese, tofu meat, tofu sour cream, tofu mayonnaise, tofu tofu. However, the vegan creme de la creme, or should one say the soy milk de la soy milk, is tofu shawarma. It actually tastes better than the real thing. Is it really fasting? Elijah would ask himself. Elijah was not alone in asking. There was a point at which, in many families, fasting times just meant a shift in proteins, but not a shift in the meals, and definitely not a shift in the heart. With time, first-generation Coptic parents found themselves being challenged by their kids about the point of fasting, to which they had very few answers. This then led to one of two options. Either they dug deeper and strove to find out why cops fast 2/3 of the year, or they slowly began to relax their attitude towards fasting. George himself remembered fasting for Elijah to begin speaking. That was probably the strictest time of his life when it came to fasting. Then with time, they began the slippery slope of bending the rules. What's some cream on my coffee? Soy milk was just disgusting. In fact, George told himself, coffee made is so bad for me that I am taking care of the temple of God when I take cream in my coffee. I am sure that is what Jesus would want me to do. He never imagined that there would have been a third and fourth option, namely a black coffee or no coffee. That would have meant sacrifice. One shudders at the thought of sacrifice, especially when concerning coffee. Cream and coffee became cheese and sandwiches, which then became delaying fasting by a week or two, and finally ended with not fasting except the day before the feast. But, of course, still while having cream in his coffee. So, when Sally took George's opinion on what she should make for Elijah, it was not a big shift or a big deal for Sally to make all the yummy food she made for her boy. After all, God is a God of hearts, right? Right. Anyone. Not knowing why one is fasting is not reason to just abandon fasting altogether. But Elijah's stomach and mind were quite thankful for the religious decay he found in his parents. What would be next? Were Sunday mornings now optional? Elijah and his parents ate. They pigged out, actually. They slept. And well, they erupted. He dreamt of Costa Rica. January 6th was probably the first time since Easter that Elijah stepped into a church. In the 90s, cops were busy building beautiful Coptic churches all over Ontario. And though the church had a beautiful iconostasis and pews and gorgeous expensive chandeliers, many of the older members missed the days when they would pray in school gyms. Now, this may seem to be a paradox. When they were in the gyms, they imagined they were in proper canonical Orthodox churches, yet while now they were in these properly built churches, and they longed for the good old days of the gym. It makes perfect sense, since in the gyms there was a real sense of unity and family. Numbers were much smaller. People felt noticed, needed, working together to make something greater than themselves. A lot of that was gone with the building of churches. Of course, the uncles and taunts were happy that they didn't have to put away chairs and set up altars and take down altars, but there was a different kind of building that they missed. The most essential building was ultimately spiritual. The building of the ecclesia, that is just the Greek word for the assembly, or more accurately, it means the calling out. It was the spiritual building that the elders were missing. It was the calling out of God's people, coming together in the assembly and becoming one with God. As things became easier and more efficient, churches were built, and the ecclesia came to mean simply church, and to be understood as the brick and mortar of a building. Elijah was somewhat feeling nostalgic about being at church for Christmas Eve. This feeling only lasted 5 minutes. He never could understand why the deacons loved to sing hymns that would last for what felt like forever. One vowel. That's it. One vowel for 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Why? Elijah asked himself after timing one of the deacons. He was bored. Of course he was bored. Church had nothing to do with him. What a tragedy, he thought. And yet, there were men and women who seemed to him to be fully engaged in the service. He wondered what that would be like. He didn't realize that the church had by design made worship boring. Not in the sense of monotony, but in the sense that worship was completely about God and not the person worshiping. It was never meant to be entertaining. In fact, from the perspective of the worshiper, liturgy was all about God. From my son's perspective, my sweet Elijah, liturgy is all about you. My son gave you his body and his blood that you may be united to him and that you may have life in you. He gives you the Holy Spirit that you may come to know him and experience him. He gives himself completely to you. Will you receive him? Will you receive us? It wouldn't be the first Christmas that the Theotokos and her sweet, sweet son would be kept out because of walls. Christmas break was surprisingly refreshing. George and Sally were ecstatic about Elijah potentially moving back for law school. Their son had just climbed the Coptic career totem pole. This made them both so happy. He will be a success, thought George. He will finally be a success.